to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of prayer, please. Thank you.
Council President Fire.
Here.
Alderman Wadawa.
Here.
Alderwoman Calderon.
Here.
Alderman Brickner.
Here.
Alderman Damon. Alderwoman Fliss. Mayor Tutai.
Here. Telephonic meeting? None.
The meeting has been properly posted and noticed.
Public hearing? None. Presentation, 2025 MSA MS4 Annual Report Summary, Eric Thompson. Thank you, sir.
And the timer has started, so talk fast.
Sorry, I won't be able to get this done in 3 minutes.
All right, you got 4. Yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So this is going to be very similar to what I've shown you last 2 years, actually. It's a little bit formulaic because it has to be. Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
This is in response to a general permit that the city holds that was issued by the Wisconsin DNR as an extension of the federal EPA. So under this permit, the city has an obligation to manage its stormwater in a way that protects the waters of the state and the waters of the U.S. And primarily the way that you do that is by maintaining operations of the city itself and then different developments that come to the city. As they develop, they have an obligation to provide stormwater management to control the pollutants that they discharge from their lands. This is just a history of how things have evolved. In 2023, MSA was hired as the city engineer, which coincided with the renewing of this permit and a pretty strict audit that the DNR gave. And the city was assigned a whole number of different activities that had to be done. And I'm not going to go over all of these things just in the interest of time, but we've talked about all of these in 2024 and 2025 when I was before the board or before the council, and here I am again in 2026. And I just wanted to call attention to a couple of the more important things that have happened, because this was really quite an eventful year, and the end of 2024, which is actually not covered by this permit cycle, was also quite eventful. I just want to just recover a couple things. So in addition to the city having a permit to operate stormwater just kind of on an everyday basis, the city is part of the Kinnickinnic River watershed. Part of it is the very southern southwest corner of it. And the Kinnickinnic River watershed is impaired for a whole number of reasons: sediment, phosphorus, and bacteria. And the DNR is obligated by federal law to create what's known as a total maximum daily load, or a TMDL. The TMDL is an identification of how much pollutant can this water body absorb, because some pollutants are natural and they're just coming off the watershed, and that has to be expected. But if it gets to be too much, then the water becomes impaired. So the TMDL is an evaluation of how much can it take before it gets impaired. So one of the things that had to be done in October of 2024 was the city had to develop a TMDL compliance plan that says, hey, we are part of this watershed, we are generating pollutants collectively as a city, and there's too many of them. What are we going to do to work progressively towards reducing those pollutants to get into compliance with that load? Now, the city is this much of the watershed, right? So you guys could do everything exactly right and it would still be impaired until all of the neighboring communities gets there, but everyone's got to do their part, and so that's what the whole idea of this compliance plan was. The next big thing was the city was in a little bit of the crosshairs of the DNR for the operations of the Public Works Garage, because there were some just exposed things like the leaf collection, the street sweepings, salt collection, that were just exposed to the elements and had the potential for pollutant runoff. And so the DNR came to the site, did this audit, took some photos, and said, hey, you guys got to do better. And one of the responses the city initially had was, well, maybe we need to have big improvements made to the Public Works Garage to make that all easier and better. And that would have represented, quite an expense to the city to make all those improvements. Well, working with the city staff, once they sort of had, their attention drawn to these things, Bill and I and some other folks at the city were able to sort of refine those operations and just sort of tidy things up. And now there's a sort of a checklist of how things should be operated, and that's documented in this SWPP, which is short for Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. and the DNR has signed off on it, and everything's hunky-dory, and there was no need to make any improvements at the garage site. It was just really more a question of how things were operated and how things were locked down when it wasn't being operated. So in 2025, I have a misprint here, that should be March of 2025, we did some more things. So we looked at this thing called a TMDL waste load attainment plan. So the compliance plan says, you know, over the course of the next 1,000,000 years, this is what we're going to do to get there. There's not really a time limit for that, but it's just a question of what would it take to get there if we worked diligently at it. Well, this TMDL waste load attainment analysis is like, look, we could spend, I'm just going to throw arbitrary numbers out, we could spend $1,000 and make a pretty big dent. We could spend $10,000 and make a bigger dent, but not that much bigger. We could spend $1 million and the dent would be not that much bigger, right? There's this diminishing rate of return. And so what Bill and I did, working in conjunction with, again, some other city staff, was we said, all right, if we build some stormwater treatment practices all throughout the watershed and we spent $1 million, we could make a pretty big dent. If we spent $10 million, we could make a bigger dent, but we still won't get there. If we spent $100 million, we still wouldn't get there. So this was an actual plan based in reality. And we said to the DNR, look, it's just not reasonable to expect the city to spend more and more and more money when we're getting this less and less and less return. And when you think about the whole size of the Kinnickinnic River watershed and the small portion of the city that's in it, when we think in terms of phosphorus load, because that's one of the big things that represents an impairment, you would be talking about like 1 pound of phosphorus or 2 pounds of phosphorus for that $9–10 million target, which is ridiculously expensive. So we wrote this memo, said to the DNR, look, it's just not reasonable to expect the city to spend this much money, so don't expect it. And they said, oh, okay, seems reasonable. We're not quite to the finish line yet, and I'll get there when I get through some more of these slides, but it was a really, really good moment for the city to just sort of get the DNR to back off maybe from what some of those really, really stringent requirements would be. There are better places for the city to spend their money if they want to improve water quality. The other thing we did, and you should have had this in your packet, but the city sort of had this hit by a bus policy, right? So it's great that I'm standing in front of you. I'm a stormwater expert. I do this stuff all day long. Your city staff, they're busy running streets and sewers and water mains and all kinds of other different things. They're not stormwater experts. What happens if suddenly MSA is wiped off the map and your public works director gets hit by a bus? Who knows all of this stuff? So we had to write this stormwater management program, which is really quite a lengthy document that says all of the stuff I'm saying today, but in print material so that the next successor can pick that up and understand where it is they're going. All right, I'm going to spend just a real brief moment going through what the permit actually entails, because that's really why I'm here today, to present your annual report in the context of this permit. This is the exact same slide I've shown you for the last 3 years. The stormwater permit that the city operates under has what they call 6 minimum control measures. The last one gets sort of stretched out, so it ends up looking like 9 measures, but it's 6. So the first one is public education and outreach, public involvement and participation, which is part of why I'm here today, illicit discharge detection, construction site and post-construction site operations, pollution prevention, which includes a stormwater management plan that your prior consultant wrote and did a good job on, and then also just updating your storm sewer system mapping. There's also an obligation every single year to report back to the DNR what you did for the prior year. Those reports are due March 31st, which again is why I'm here tonight. Next slide, please. All right, the first minimum control measure is the public education and outreach program. The city wisely, I think, farms that stuff out to the Sweetwater Trust. Sweetwater Trust represents a whole number of different communities in the Milwaukee area, and they just reach out to all of them, and they can do it all very, very cost effectively. These 9 items here are 9 different things that they've done on behalf of the city without really MSA or really the city being actively involved, and it's just a community education campaign to say, hey, this is what you can do as owners of businesses, of owners of homes, of people that just visit the city, to do your best to not pollute the waters of the state or to make them actually better. Public involvement and participation. The city has to make an opportunity for the public to offer their comment, to the council and to the staff to say, hey, this is what we think, this is what's going on, how can we get involved and how can we do things? And the minimum requirement is for someone like me to be here tonight talking about it, making sure that folks in the audience are aware that the city's doing things, and then making it apparent that they can also step up and do things as well. Next one, Bill. Illicit discharges. So the whole idea of having an MS4, which is short for Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, you know, in Milwaukee there are some combined sewers, that's why they call it a separate sewer. Make sure that only stormwater is going into the storm sewer system. And the way you go about doing that is once per year you have to randomly select different storm sewer systems, go down and test them, make sure that what you're seeing is only stormwater. So MSA does this on behalf of the city. We've been doing it now for the last 3 years. This is a map of the city, and these black circles represent storm sewers that we've tested. This area that's hatched in red is that small portion of the city that's in the Kinnickinnick River watershed. That's where it's impaired. That's where we have to look at other things, including bacteria. So we pay a little bit more attention. You can see we've got 5 locations we test there. We test those every year. The idea being we don't want to find bacteria repeatedly, year after year after year, that we can come back to the DNR and say, look, sure, the Kinnickinnick River watershed is impaired for bacteria. It's not coming from St. Francis because we've never found it. And then they will eventually remove that requirement because they'll say, look, you've never found it. It's still impaired, must not be coming from you. So we test all these outfalls for different things. You know, heaven forbid you see some toilet paper or something that looks like human waste or some sheen that's not definitely stormwater, and you have to report it to the DNR, and they have to take some actions to find out where it's coming from and get rid of it. In the years we've been doing it, we've found absolutely nothing. So everything's going well on that front. Construction site pollution control and post-construction site pollution control. The real big thing there is who is reviewing your plans for compliance and who is reviewing the construction sites for compliance. And between Bill, some other staff, myself, and city staff, that's all going just fine. In 2025, there were 3 active construction sites, only one of which was over an acre, which is the ones that the DNR cares about. But just for the record, one of them was Chase Bank, St. Francis Seminary had some improvements going on, and more recently Sheridan Mold had a small site improvement plan that they did. Each of them constructed some kind of a stormwater management device to improve the water quality that their site discharges, and it was all in compliance with the city's ordinance as well as state statute, or rather state administrative code and MMSD's code. So everything was really quite well. Bill has to coordinate with MMSD on the permits that were issued, and they've all been in agreement that the reviews and the construction that's been going on are in compliance. Pollution prevention. Now this is sort of that 6th minimum control measure that expands into some other measurements. But one of the things that we're looking at in particular is winter road management. So how much salt is the city applying to keep the streets cleared like was required here the last day or 2. And one of the things they've got to tabulate are the pounds of salt that are applied to the streets, and how carefully does the city measure the application rate so that you're putting down just the right amount of salt and not too much, so that you're adding extra pollutants to the street. You might be surprised to note that it was about 470 tons that were applied over the course of the calendar year. It starts last year and goes into this year because winter spans the calendar year. But that's very consistent with what we've reported on behalf of the city for the last number of years. So at least it's, the streets haven't gotten any longer, so the use has become about the same. And of course, it depends upon what the weather is. If we have a particularly wet and icy winter, we'll have to use more. Street sweeping and catch basin cleaning. The street sweepers hauled away about 74 tons of material. So you think about the sand that's in the street, and you watch the sweeper go by, and it's picking up, this grit that you can measure. When you look at it in the street, it doesn't seem like very much. But over the course of the entire year, it's 74 tons. That's a lot. I mean, that's sediment that would otherwise be going into the watercourses that's being removed by the sweeper. So, of course, the sweeping was done, for aesthetic reasons and for intersection safety reasons and things like that. But it actually has a very distinct water quality benefit, and it comes in the form of 74 tons of sediment that's not making its way to the waterways. The city has what's known as sumped catch basins. So the inlets, the grates in the street where the water drops in and goes into the pipe, many of them have what's called a sump. So it extends down into the ground, and it's like a little miniature stormwater pond. It just holds water there. Well, it collects all that sediment, and the city comes around and they have a Vector truck and they suck it all out, and another 25 tons of sediment got hauled away from the street. So between the two, it's darn near 100 tons of material that was removed from the street that would otherwise have gotten to the water courses. Another big important element of the water quality management plan is leaf management. And so the city has a leaf collection program where you can bring them to the Public Works garage or bag them up and they'll bring them to the Public Works garage. And about 37 30 cubic yard dumpsters were removed. So that's just a ton of leaves, which if they're left alone are going to degrade, get into the streets, get into the waterways. And the leaves themselves aren't so bad. It's the phosphorus that's in the organic material that leads to the problems. Bill, please. All right. This water quality plan, again, I mentioned it was written by another consultant, and it identified all of the different BMPs that were in the city, how effective those management practices were. BMP is best management practice. And this font that's a little bit gray is all stuff that was documented in that report that was finished in 2019. What it's showing is for the bulk of the city, the stuff that's not the Kinnickinnick River watershed, you're in compliance. You really don't have anything more to do in terms of bringing the existing development into compliance with water quality requirements. You just have to make sure that as new development occurs, as redevelopment occurs, you're following the city's ordinance, you're following state administrative code, which you're doing. In the Kinnickinnick River watershed, we are falling a little bit short, and I talked about the TMDL compliance plan, I talked about the use attainability study. You should recall from me being here a year and a half ago about talks about a project on East Layton Avenue, and that is what the focus of the use attainment study was, building some sort of a stormwater practice there. Whether it's above ground or below ground has yet to be decided. The proximity of the airport kind of complicates things because you're not supposed to have ponds by airports because they attract waterfowl, which becomes a bird strike hazard. But nonetheless, that's where the focus of putting some sort of a stormwater management practice would be, and that's where that $1 million-ish figure comes from. And this was all kind of laid out in this use attainment study. And what I want to draw your attention to is we've kind of been talking about this as, yeah, that's something in the future. But the DNR's permit, the city's permit that is, has an obligation by 2028 to have an implementation plan in place. So that's going to be some kind of a formal design, construction plans, specifications, a bid set to build something there shortly after the plan is submitted in 2028. So, the time is ticking away, and in the next years, you're going to have to allocate some money to make this plan come to play. I wanted to spend just a little bit more time on this bacteria action level because that East Layton site that I talked about is right down here. It's in the Kinnickinnick River watershed. We are focusing also on the bacteria, which I've mentioned we've never really ever found any. One of the things as part of the TMDL compliance plan was the city had to identify a threshold above which, wow, that's too much bacteria. And there's not any new science going on here. This bacteria action level that was decided upon of 10,000 parts per 100 milliliters of water. So you put a sample on some agar jelly. Remember back in biology class, you had to grow bugs on agar jelly. After so much time, you count the number of colonies that have grown. Well, this is the colony count that they want you to have. 10,000 or more indicates a real big problem. Over the last few years, you've had 16, 31, and then last year we tested 2 of them because they were flowing, 2 and 17. So 2, 17, 30, 16 versus 10,000. I mean, you're just not finding the bacteria there. And so we're hoping over time the DNR is going to say, yeah, the watershed's small, there's no bacteria sources, you're not finding any bacteria, so we're going to remove that requirement. This is the storm sewer system map. I toyed with the idea of kind of showing you a before and after. MSA's GIS staff, Geographic Information System staff, they mapped the utilities in the city, have been working really, really hard. And this map has evolved tremendously over the last few years in terms of just knowing where the storm sewers are, knowing which way they're flowing, what size they are, how deep they are under the ground. This is just something that we kind of have been evolving as projects come up for reconstruction, as developments come up and we get better information from their plans, and it's just something that kind of lives in perpetuity. But the beauty is once you got this stuff mapped well, should a stormwater problem arise, should you need to do some sort of engineering planning to deal with stormwater, now you've got this resource to fall back on. All right. This is not applicable at this time, but one of the things that has to be addressed is, what if we want to amend our stormwater plan? Well, truth be told, the stormwater plan only just got written this year as part of a permit requirement, so there's not really much need to amend it. But if things were to change, if the TMDL were to be revised to incorporate some other pollutant, or the state administrative code were to change and you needed to adjust your ordinance, you'd have to take care of it through here. But the thing is your permit gets renewed once every 5 years, and with the rapidity, which is to say not rapidity, of how the DNR resources are able to refocus their attention, there's really almost no need to write an amendment. You just wait until the permit's reissued, and then you write a new plan, and it's no need to amend it. So it's not really applicable, but it comes through from the federal government. All right, and so we have to submit an annual report. Again, you should have a copy of the draft annual report in your agenda packet. MSA has been working with Dave, your DPW, and some other staff to get that all populated, and it's done except for a few missing pieces regarding the stormwater utility budget, and then it's just got to be uploaded to the DNR electronically by March 31st every year. So we got about 2 weeks to go before that's due. Don't anticipate anything out of the ordinary as far as getting that submitted. This is kind of the last slide, and I wanted to just recap a couple of things because, again, 2025 was kind of a big year. So these green arrows point to all the different action items in your permit, and this is actually a copy right out of the city's permit. Submit a written stormwater management program document. It's about a 20-page document with all of the different things I've talked about today, but actually giving you some detail on them. Submit a prioritized stormwater education needs assessment for the community. This is something, again, that the Sweetwater Group is doing, but we have to have something in writing relatively quickly to document to the DNR, all right, we've done this assessment. What are people, frankly, rather ignorant about regarding stormwater management, and the operation of the stormwater system in the city of St. Francis, and what can we do to sort of fill that gap? How can we put some education materials out there to let people know what's going on? This October 1st, 2025 was to submit the BMPs the permit's going to employ to reduce nutrient loading from leaves. Truth be told, the city's leaf collection program does not comply with the minimum standards the DNR offers to give you a credit for that. And so you don't really have a BMP you're going to employ because it's not compliant. Having said that, most of the city is already in compliance because the standards for the portion of the city that drain to the lake directly are much, much lower than the portion that drains to the Kinnickinnick River watershed. The land uses within the Kinnickinnick River watershed are only marginally applicable to the DNR's approved phosphorus reduction target that you get for leaf collection. So even if you had a compliant program, it would give you about that much additional phosphorus reduction. So this turned out to kind of be a lot of to-do about nothing, but again, it's in the permit, it had to be documented, we had to comment on it, so we've done so. Waste load attainment, I've talked about that. Bacteria indicator, I talked about that. And then this East Layton project, we've talked about that as well. So lots of stuff happened in 2025 as far as moving the city towards compliance. We're not done. 2028 is going to be a big year. The only thing that we really have to do before we ramp up for that is this item in blue, which is to submit this fecal coliform source inventory. So someone's going to probably get on their bicycle maybe, drive in their car, go back and forth through the Kinnickinnick River watershed and identify all of the different types of land use, whether it's residential, whether it's commercial, whether it's some type of industry, and identify whether there's a source of bacteria. We know, based upon the samples, there really isn't, but the DNR wants to see a map, and that's probably what we'll be doing on behalf of the city's. All right, that's it. Maybe
Good.
a little bit more than 20
You're
minutes,
good.
but I thought I was
You
all
are
right.
fine. Paul?
Eric, do you need any approval from the council on this?
No,
submit?
sir.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Oh, I just have a comment. That was an excellent report. Thank you.
Yeah, just also want to say there are very few people in the world, I imagine, that can make an MS4 annual report sound interesting and stay interesting for 20 plus minutes. But excellent work, and I really do appreciate the thoroughness on this.
I'll keep it short. Ditto. All right, moving on. Citizen comments. William? Thanks, Eric.
Below 3900 South Kirkwood Avenue. With the discussion that was brought up at the last council meeting,
Sir, can you speak into the microphone more so that everyone can hear you, plus the people on video to hear
the
you?
discussion that was brought up at the last council meeting with regards to green space and possible high-rise or condos on the Triangle. We as a group for the Triangle are not opposed to new development. When Park Shore and the Lanny developments were proposed on the lake, many of the citizens of St. Francis packed the council chamber, which was held at the old city hall, to voice their concerns. But the alderman and mayor had an attitude of full steam ahead with these developments. In the last council meeting, how could you even bring up the question, where were the citizens' complaints on the Park Shore development? Many of who only just recently moved into the new subdivisions located by the future development. These citizens that attend this past meeting were not living here at the time. To me, living across the street from these projects, when is enough is enough. Why does the city keep buying up private land with taxpayer money for future developments when you cannot take care of some of the existing neighborhoods? The reason why many residents who oppose the Triangle area won't come to speak is because they say the council will do whatever they want, just like previous administrations. As I stated before, let's have the citizens have some say or input with future developments. Let's try to work together as citizens and council members to make the city of St. Francis a more family-oriented city and save some green space to complement development near the lake to have a balance for all. And with regards to your comment where you said you were lied to twice, that's because that's how you became an alderman. I've been here 38 years. You know how many times I've been lied to by councils and mayors? So that's my point.
Thank you.
There are packets available if you wish to run for the office, sir.
Thank you. Carol?
Hello? Is this right? Okay. I'm Carol Rocco. I'm from 4020 South Shannon Avenue, and that's District 2, I think.
Can you speak up just a little bit, just not for us, but people watch this on video, and it's hard for them to hear you, and it's very important that they hear what you say. So if you
Okay.
can try to speak just a little bit louder, please.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'm here tonight at the request of energetic, motivated, caring citizens. And you could say that I speak on behalf of the lazy, disengaged community members who care but don't do much about it. So this is my first time here, and this is, by now, what must be your favorite topic, the Triangle. The development of the Triangle and the lakefront has been a source of irritation for me. I felt there were better, smarter opportunities than filling all of the land with condos and apartments. A couple of different lakefront venues could have attracted visitors, and that could have fanned out into new business developments. Your choice took away our view and a vision for a more promising future. What remains is a triangle, initially allocated to be a business district, one that in my brain should have happened when Barack Obama was president. Now it appears the city council is still riding the apartment train. I'm not thoroughly educated on the new proposal. Much of my information comes from gossip, rumors, and paranoia. And this sheet. Where's the camera? This sheet. And the website it leads me to. It's clear, it's concise, with interesting, seemingly credible information and valid concerns that are resonating with the community. People will not like huge apartments and a giant parking lot. I came here.
You got 15 more seconds, Carol.
Oh. That's enough then.
You can take that 15 seconds. Absolutely. Okay, thank you. Sheila? Begin to see if it's going. Did it turn off? Oh. Is that one on? Don't think it's my hearing aid.
My pacemaker.
Can you hear me?
Oh.
Hear me? Where do you turn it on or off? It's on.
Bottom. Very bottom.
Rick? And we're only paying you 14 cents an hour to help.
Testing, testing.
It's on. You just got to speak right into it. Thanks, Rick.
Hello, I'm Sheila Semro. I live at 3862 South Lake Drive. I'm part of Community for the Triangle. TIF does not reduce taxes in the short term. It often increases them. The claim that maximizing development inside a TIF district helps avoid raising taxes is misleading. When a TIF district is created, the tax base inside the district is frozen. Any new tax revenue generated inside the district is diverted away from the school district, county, city operating budgets, and instead used to pay off development costs. During the life of the district, schools don't receive tax revenue from the new development, city's general fund does not receive the tax revenue, and other taxpayers must often cover increased service costs. In fact, new residential developments frequently increase municipal service costs, including police, fire, schools, and infrastructure maintenance. Until the TIF closes, these costs are often borne by the rest of the community. Therefore, TIF districts shift tax burden in the short term, but they do not eliminate it. Residential development is the weakest revenue generator in a TIF. Most would argue that any development will strengthen the city financially, but it's not true. According to the Urban Land Institute and many other municipal finance studies, it has been shown that high-density residential developments typically generate far less tax revenue than commercial or mixed-use developments. Residential developments require more services per tax dollars generated, adds to school district costs, and generate less property value per acre than commercial use. Retail, office, and hospitality developments typically generate 2 to 4 times more tax revenue per acre, while requiring far fewer municipal services. This matters because the Triangle is one of the most valuable redevelopment sites in our city, located along Lake Michigan and at a major gateway corridor. It is using it primarily for apartments permanently limits the long-term revenue potential for the site.
Thank you. That was perfect timing. Don't know if I got this name right. Marty? Good evening, sir.
Thank you very much. Happy St. Patrick's Day to
Got
everyone.
your green on?
Yeah, I have my green on. I also have my public school shirt on. So,
Double green.
I'm going to follow up on Sheila. According to the Urban Land Institute, maximizing development is not the same as maximizing value. We are against high-rise apartment buildings, and we are for a more downtown development, which would maximize value. TIF was designed for economic development, not primarily housing. And I'm just going to direct you to our website, www.communityfortriangle.com, for more of the things that we are publishing. I thought today, you've heard me a lot, and rather than go into something more contentious, last October 27th, I kind of fell on your doorstep. That was the first time I came to a common council meeting. And I realized, you know, if I was in your shoes, I really don't know who I am. I'm a former businessman. I sold 2 businesses. I've developed software for special education departments. And St. Francis School District was one of my customers for 15 years up until 2020 when I sold the last business. Part of the things that made me successful was I had a pivot when I received new information in special education and in computers. Boy, there's a lot of new information. I got input from many people, customers and employees. I had to be flexible, and I had to be open to new ideas. So that is what I'm going to leave you with tonight. Thank you very much for your time, and again, happy St. Patrick's Day. So,
No green beer, though. Thank you, Marty. Mary or Maria? That I throws me off. I should know by now.
Thank you. Mary Haven, 3505 East Sevier. Just a couple of brief comments tonight, because I'm sure this gets very, I don't know the word. You have your own word about the topic with the triangle. What I really just want to say tonight is you've all chosen to have a role within the public government. And I know this probably comes across that we're here and we're saying you're not doing a good job. And I just want to say, being in public service, it's very commendable. And I'm sure you all, or at least at one point, had another career, doing other things. It's busy. I know you're not getting paid a lot of money. So I do want to say we appreciate the efforts. The point of what we're really trying to do is not to say, you know, not in my backyard, or this project was fine, but now we have a problem with this project. There was a comment last meeting about hypocrisy, and I don't see how that really fits. I wasn't here when they built Park Shore. I wasn't here when they built the landing, but I think there is a differentiation that needs to be made regarding condominiums and 300 apartment units. We have a lot of apartments. I know there's not a ton of vacancy, but there is some vacancy. And because the triangle is such a small parcel with a beautiful location, I know there may be different opinions about the value and the beauty of the space. However, there isn't much space left in St. Francis. And as far as reference to character of St. Francis, when I moved here, I built a house right behind here. And there was probably some residents who didn't want a big custom home built there. And I appreciate that. So I know people have different opinions. And that's perfectly fine. But I just want to say, please don't imply that we don't understand the character of St. Francis. We all chose this area because of the character, with lots of different types of people, different incomes, different backgrounds, all that kind of stuff. We're only caring about this. I'm saying we're only here representing our thoughts because we do care so much about it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for citizens' comments? Can you state your name, sir?
Rick Urbanowicz, 4242 South Nicholson Avenue. Good evening. I just want to give a shout out to the BPW for the hard work they did on the snowstorm that we had. They did an excellent job with those roads. You know, you wouldn't think that we got as much as we did with this blizzard. So BPW did a great job, and I just want to give them a attaboy.
Thank you. Again, ditto. Whether it be, I said ditto, that means I agree with you, the same thing. I would never say anything bad about famous Ricky G. All right, moving on, consent agenda. Is there any older person who would like anything removed?
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it. Recommendation of action from committees, commissions, and boards. Action to be taken from the licensing committee meeting held March 17th, 2026. Don?
We're looking for a new beverage operator license for Kyle W. Kachakabo. Ouch.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
And next, we're looking for temporary Class B license for the 3rd Annual Food Truck and Jazz Rotary Club of Mitchell Field. Peter Mary, organizer, Retner Park, 4230 South Kirkwood Avenue, June 7th, 2026.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Ayes have it.
That's it from licensing, Mayor.
Thank you, Don. Action to be taken from the bargaining? None. Action to be taken from Board of Public Works? None. Action to be taken from the Planning Commission? None. Action to be taken from the Park Commission meeting held March 17th, 2026.
Mayor, the Park Commission reviewed and approved the Rotary Club application and the application for the concerts in the park.
Don't need a motion or anything? Thank you. Resolutions and ordinances? None. Discussion items with possible action? None. Appointments to committees, commissions, and boards? None. Correspondence with possible action or referral? None. Unfinished business? None. Other business? None. Department heads, Young William.
I'm going to keep my comments short.
2 minutes.
I'm going to say about 10 seconds here. So
Put 'em
the
on
only
at the
update I
time.
have right now is that we are currently getting ready to bid the street improvements project. On the 8th of April will be the preliminary hearing for the special assessments, and that'll also be the bid opening. So the meeting following is where we expect to award bid. So I'll have an update at the next meeting. With that, I pass.
Thank you. Chief?
I will also be brief. We did to the Police and Fire Commission, so I hope to have 2 new firefighters starting in the month of April. Got notified of our final inspection due for our next ambulance, which will be taking place in roughly 3 to 4 weeks. Also, within 3 to 4 weeks, we'll be hosting the annual Honor Guard Clinic. So I don't have numbers. I don't have preliminary numbers, but it puts us on the map, and we the event, the class always puts us in a spotlight, and we again have 2 St. Francis police officers joining in the classes. And then the last thing is check out your ticket opportunities for the Battle of the Badges, the hockey game, because our heavy equipment operator, Cale Durstein, is once again playing on behalf of the fire team. And
Wasn't he on the USA team too?
Yeah, no.
yeah. And with that,
Thank you, Chief. Chief?
Thank you. I would like to give some recognition to Officers Zidell, Pekulik, Milkarik, Sergeant Ziernikowski. They handed out certificates and T-shirts last week on March. About 50 fifth graders who completed the Choose Not to Lose program that started in February. That program takes young people and kind of coaches them through certain subjects, anything from drug use to online safety to bullying. And I just want to say, program like that and working with young people can sometimes be a little bit stressful, especially in that age group. And those kids were fantastic, and those officers really put on a great program, and you could see the appreciation that that school and those kids had for them. So I just wanted to give a shout out for that.
Thank you. No snorting. Ann?
I just, excuse me, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of you who attended the Citizen of the Year event. It was very fun, very humbling, and it was a great night to share with the people that give back to the community as well. We're gearing up for an April 7th election. Rebecca's been working diligently on Badger books. Absentee ballots should be going in the mail. They went in the mail today, so people should have those. And other than that, I've got nothing, except the heat came back on tonight, finally.
We paid the bill.
Yeah.
Thank you. Paul?
I have no report this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
I have nothing, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Matt?
Appreciate it. Just want to continue to thank everybody for coming and sharing their thoughts. I particularly appreciate that, even as we are sharing thoughts with differences and opinions, the undercurrent of respect and, just continuing to want to keep the conversation going, I think is really important. So I appreciate everybody who is continuing to do that. And I, am certainly listening, and I think the whole council is listening. I certainly wouldn't speak for everyone here, but it's my belief that we are all taking your comments seriously, and we appreciate everybody who is coming here to comment. And with that, I pass.
Thanks, Matt. Steve?
I'll pass this evening, sir.
Thank you. Don?
Thanks, Mayor. And first of all, I want to say that your dinner was great. It was a great time. I give it 6 snorts.
That's 7.
That's 7.
May 31st, right?
And then also on the comments this evening, I think we're getting borderline. We need to keep things civil. I personally take umbrage to the fact when the gentleman told me that he's been lied to by this common council for 30-some years. I have been on this common council for 22 years. I have never lied to a citizen in this community, ever. And I take umbrage to being accused of lying to somebody. Nobody on this common council has any more respect for anybody else on this common council. We're all here for one thing, and that's to make the city better. We may have different ideas and may have different roads, but we're all here because of the fact that we want to make the city better. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. As Mary stated, it's definitely not for the money. And with that, I pass.
Thank you, Don. Debbie?
I want to thank everybody for coming too. It's good to hear everybody, and I hope we keep the dialogue open. And I do want to thank DPW and all the departments that help with our surge.
Thank you. Sarah?
Also, I'd also like to thank all of those of you that came tonight to share your thoughts. And Emergency Services, DPW, did do a fantastic job with our pretty awful weather that we had for over the recently. And so much appreciated to everything that you've all done. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Sean?
So I'm going to speak a little slower. My father used to tell a joke when I was a kid. I wrote this letter slow because you do not read too fast. When I was a coach and I got excited, I spoke fast and I spoke loud. So I'm trying to avoid that because I don't want misinterpretation of what I'm going to be saying. My comments are developed as the meeting evolves. I don't come with prepared speeches usually. I did the one night in recent past about a month and a half ago. I try to be as factual as possible, and I put information on my Alderman page. If you go to my Alderman page, you will see everything you need to know about TIFs. Ehlers, our accountant, has a fantastic presentation on there. Von Briesen has a presentation on there debunking common myths about TIFs, and a lot of it is what we heard this evening. They will tell you what the facts are with TIFs. Please visit that information. You will get facts from that information. One person stated they get their facts off the sheet from this webpage. That webpage is an opinion page. The interpretation of our strategic plan is just that. It's an interpretation. And I was told, well, attorneys have looked it over. Any attorney I pay, they better give me the outcome I want. That's why I'm paying that attorney. With regard to speeches, I have had people offer to come here to speak if I would prepare them a speech. I'm not going to prepare a speech for somebody. That's disingenuous. If they want to come and speak, they can come and speak on their own behalf. I'm not going to write a speech for them. It becomes pretty evident when a speech has been written for people, when the same speech is coming week after week after week. I'm not going to do that. With regard to the Triangle development proposal, the residential portion is 25 to 30% only of that entire development. And that's probably a high estimate. There are other buildings on there. It is not only residential. The problem we have fundamentally in front of us is we haven't seen the formal PUD. We haven't made a decision on this dais because we haven't had anything to decide on. We've seen nothing. We saw a preliminary idea. In that preliminary idea, the builders said, to make this more attractive for the city of St. Francis, because we know it's a small community-based community, we'll build you a new library. You can move in it, house it however you want. That blew up. That was a proposal to make it more appealing. The moment they heard the uproar, it was removed. We don't know what they have planned. When they came into the council meeting, they said bank, coffee shop, daycare, marketplace, similar to Milwaukee Public Market on a smaller scale. They pulled the library, said maybe some other retail on the other end. We don't know. I had other citizens come up to me and say they want it developed. One citizen took it a step further and said, by all means, build them a 20-story high-rise with a 5-story underground parking garage, make the best green space. I thought that was creative, but it's not at all what I'm interested in. There are many, many worse options that could go on that triangle than what that developer is proposing. There is a development in Franklin that would probably love a new home. How would you like the Milkman over here? Weekly concerts, loud music, fireworks, loud noise every night of the week. That's not going to happen here. But that's a development option that's out there. Sports complexes are building all over the place. Concert venues are building up in communities everywhere you turn. Oak Creek Town Center has concerts. There are many worse options out there, and we haven't even seen what this builder is formally offering yet. It isn't in front of us yet. We're kind of getting the cart before the horse. And as some people here recently stated, this type of community behavior isn't very welcoming to a developer, and it could actually chase them away. Not developing that isn't an option. That's not going to bring you tax revenue. And the short-lived life of the TID, the money pays back the TID. Yes, that's true, and I explained that here at a council meeting that night. But when that TID reaches maturity, which is, I believe, around 2035, Mark, that's when we see the benefit. There is benefit. Let me explain this again. If that property had $5,000 in tax levy when the TID opened, it's going to stay at $5,000. You get a $10 million development in there, and now you've got $100,000 in tax on that property. That $5,000 still goes to the tax revenue because the rest has to pay back the TID. At the end of that time period, that full $100,000 goes to the tax levy. There is benefit at the end of the process. The information's on my Alderman page. I welcome people to visit it and get facts. And with that, I'll pass.
Thank you, Sean. I would like to give kudos to the DPW. What people in the audience don't know, 2 of our machines broke down, and they still kicked butt. They did awesome. So if you ever see them on the street, trimming a tree or anything, just tell them thank you. They went above and beyond. And for everyone that came here, as always, I'm very thankful, but I do have to call out one person, Mary. That was very courageous and thoughtful, and I'm very thankful for your comments. And with that, can I get a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.